Good morning, and welcome to Saying Goodbye, a podcast by yours truly. I have been listening to the recent podcast like I always do, and I was just thinking about like where I was at that point in my life, and there's a lot to take in, to go back to that dark place, to go back to that place where it was the darkest point of my life after Booby's murder and the destruction of my life, and what was probably the lowest low, the lowest of lows. I tried everything to just take myself out of here with no regard to my kids or people who cared about me. I just wanted it to end, the pain, the suffering. And I could relate to that. I just didn't have what it took to try to harm myself, thank God. And thankfully I'm here, So I always begin by talking a little bit about like what it is that we're doing here and what it is that I'm doing here and what it is that I hope to accomplish. I don't know what's going to happen, and I can't say what the outcome is. All I can hope for is that I can reach someone and that they can hear my story, parts of my story, and say, man, there is a way out. There's something else that I can accomplish in my life despite how far or how destructive I've been or just how far gone you are. I mean, I battled through homelessness, drug addiction, just abandonment on my end from the world. I just try to completely sever all ties. And a lot of the things that I've been through they weren't by my choice. They were just things that I was born into. I was born into the street life or the addictive lifestyle, and just everything that came with addiction, the partying, the drugs, the abuse, and all that stuff that comes with it. A lot of things that we deal with, a lot of things that we dealt with growing up, and a lot of us, whoever is watching this, then definitely you can relate to things that you've been through or things that you saw, because we go through it in one form or another. Even if you watch somebody else go through it, a good friend, a family member, it still causes pain in your life. So at this point of my life, on my journey, where I'm at and where I'm describing what happened in my life, at this point, like Booby's gone, my daughter and my son are in the picture. They're here. And now I'm just drunk all the time. I'm not a good partner, right? These are the things that I was back then. That's not who I am today. And I started to try to get my footing. I tried a few different things. Nothing was working. I was just gone. And I tried going to church. I tried a few different things. I guess at this point in my life, nothing was working. And I know why it wasn't working. It wasn't working because I kept just doing the same thing and I was expecting different results. Right? The definition of insanity. And I thought that everything was magically going to get better because, I want to do better. And I have an idea in my head of what it is that needs to be done. And guess what? I just couldn't do it. I couldn't because I kept repeating the same behavior. I kept having the same attitude, even though in my mind, like I was begging God to take me away or help me change. And I wanted so bad to change. I just didn't know how. I didn't know what was gonna happen. And for me, I had to keep praying. That's the only thing that was making a difference in my life. I just kept praying. And, I'm not this religious person or this saint or any. I ain't none of that. But what I was broken, and I didn't have nothing or no one else to turn to. And a situation took place where I could have lost my life, And in that moment, when that situation took place and, guns were involved, in that moment, when that took place, I'm already destroyed. I'm going through all this stuff. I'm putting myself through all these things, putting my kids through it, putting my kid's mother through it, and doing all these things. And then I run into a situation where I have nowhere to go, and I'm either going to get shot or something's going to happen. And in that moment, it was the moment where I decided, I do really want to live. And it's a terrible time to decide that you want your life to be, you want to move on with your life and you want to do the right thing. Yeah, that's the wrong time to decide that that's what you want to do when you're right there about to get shot and your life is basically in somebody else's hands at that point. And that's what took place for me. It took for that to happen, and then it took, after that happened, I had to keep praying because at that point, I just knew I didn't want to die. At that point, when my life could have been taken. And at that point, then I was I really need to make a change. And the only way that I could really make that change was by slowing down. That's all I could think of. I didn't know what else to do because work wasn't happening. I couldn't maintain a job because I couldn't maintain, my outburst, my attitude problem, my not getting along with others, my disrespect. I was just intolerable. And it was unmanageable on all levels. And for 2 years, I got to a point, it was almost about 2 years, I started to slow down with the drinking. I stopped blacking out. I started improving. Things started to change and things started to get better, but they weren't getting better to a point where I could make a real good, healthy change in my life and start to pivot and go another way. And I remember that I was just praying every day. Even when I drank, I would pray. If I was high, I would still pray. I'll get up in the morning, in the afternoon, basically, because I'm going to bed at 5, 6, 7 in the morning. And when I would get up, I would pray and just, begging God that whatever he did, whatever he can do for me, whatever he wanted to do for me, if he was to do it, that, I would follow him wherever he wanted to take me. But just please, take this away. And I was just begging and begging God and pleading and praying and asking. And I had nothing else. There was nobody I could go to that I could say, hey, help me with this. No, there was nothing. Nobody. It was just like in the streets, like nobody's coming to save you. You have to save yourself. And in this turning point of my life, the only person or the only thing that I can turn to was my higher power. That was the only thing I could turn to. The only thing I could turn to was God, because I had nothing else. And was it sad that it took that? Yes and no. You know, like when you realize that there's nobody else there and you realize that that's all that you got, then that's what you're going to turn to. And that's what I turned to. I turned to God, and I turned to praying, and I turned to just asking him every day and just talking to him like a friend, like, please, if you could help me just stop this. I couldn't get one day without drinking. I couldn't get one day without smoking weed. I couldn't get one day without getting twisted. Like, just, I couldn't be sober for one day. It didn't matter what it was. I was doing something. And that is the most helpless feeling you can ever feel as an addict, you know? And I learned to be an addict. I learned that that it was okay. It was okay to smoke weed. It was okay to get drunk. It was okay to do all these things because I watched it growing up. And it was normal to me. To me, it was just like second nature. You know, there wasn't nothing abnormal about it. There wasn't nothing that I saw that would push me in a different direction. All I know is that at this point in my life, I had to try something different because this was not it. This was not working. I couldn't be positive in my kid's life. Time was getting ahead of me. And this was already, I was 25 when Booby passed. This was already going on 8 years. So for like six or 7 years, I was just in the streets. It was something like that. Like in between Booby passed, 2 months later, I became 26. So it was like 6, 7 years, something like that. And I went and I started to slow down. The blackouts stopped occurring, and the more that this kept happening, the more I kept praying. And I just kept praying and kept praying. And I was able to go around people. I was able to start rekindling friendships and things like that, and being around, and people were like surprised, like, man, you really seem like you getting it together, because I wasn't fighting or arguing or doing something ignorant. And I remember I went and I was hanging out, and a guy told me something. He said, oh, I'll stab you in the face. I'll kill you. And he was obviously drunk. And I went up to him, and I didn't hit him. I didn't do anything. And I told him, I was like, yo, man, you say things like that. And you never know what people got, man. Somebody could have a gun, a knife, or stab you, hit you with a bat in the head. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen. You got to be careful the way you're talking right now. And I spoke to the dude, and the dude apologized. And he just calmed down, and he stopped with the bullshit. And that was a big turning point for me, that I didn't put hands on him. I wasn't violent, even though I was I was drinking, but I wasn't as drunk as he was, and I could have easily taken advantage of him. I could have easily done some stuff, and it wouldn't have been good, for him. And I didn't. I spoke to him, like a human being and say, hey man, the way you acting, you're not acting right. After that night, I just kept drinking, wound up getting some beers. I wound up going to my boy Nelson's house. I always hung out with him all the time. Like, we would chill and hang out. And everybody blamed that poor guy for my madness. They didn't blame me. They blamed him, which was that was not the case. Nelson and I we both decided to do our own thing at our own time, the way we wanted, and we didn't care. And we just would hang around each other because we were the only two assholes that could deal with each other, or didn't even care about who was around as long as somebody was. Either way, I was at Nelson's house, and I went to bed. I had smoked. I went to sleep, and we wound up sleeping in a little bit, and I wound up waking up. I don't know where Nelson was, but I was in his kitchen, and I went and I brushed my teeth, and I'm like, I don't know if I ate something. It wasn't real clear, but like this particular day, it just felt so weird to me. Like, everything just seemed, it seemed like I was looking at everything, and it just looked like 3D. Everything just looked like a movie scene, and everything felt out of pocket. I didn't know what it was. And so I get up, and I'm up for a little while, and I was drinking the night before, so there was a few beers in the fridge, and I went into the fridge, and I tried to take a drink. I cracked open a beer, and I went and I tried to drink like the way you would drink water, soda. I went to take a sip of beer. When I tried to drink the beer, I don't know what happened, but the beer would not go down my throat. It just sat right in my mouth. It would not go down my throat. And to the point that I held it there because I'm stubborn as shit. And I tried, and I'm like, why isn't this going down? So the beer wouldn't go down. I wound up just spitting it out. I went to the sink. I spit it out. And I'm saying to myself, what the hell is going on? Why this, I must be getting sick. Something's happening. My throat is closing. I got to go to the hospital, right? This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to stop breathing. Something's happening. I don't know if I'm catching a stroke. What the hell is going on? So I go and I get myself a cup of water. And I go and I drink the water. And the water goes down. And I was like, oh, thank God I'm not like choking or something's, nothing's wrong. It's just maybe when I went to drink the beer, maybe, I don't know, something happened. And then I go, obviously, again, I try to drink the beer. The beer goes in my mouth and it stops. It would not pass my throat. My throat just would close when I tried doing it with the beer. When I tried drinking the beer, I tried, it wouldn't go down at all. I spit the beer out. I said, all right, what's going on? What's happening here? So I drink more water. My throat opens up. I'm drinking, the water goes down. I'm like, all right, I grab the beer again and I go to drink the beer because I'm like, all right, now that I'm going to drink the water and the beer like simultaneously together. I'm going to get the water in there so that my body will open up, and then I'm going to chug the beer. I'm going to get creative, right? I was a creative addict. And as I went for the third time to try to drink the beer, to try to get it to go down, I'm telling you that the light bulb went off in my head. And I said to myself, This is what you've been praying for damn near 2 years. You've been praying to God to take all this stuff away. You've been praying to God to remove this addiction. And here it is. He's not allowing you to drink. That date was November 23rd, 2012. That was the day. I grabbed the beer. I poured it down the sink. And I nervously waited. I didn't smoke. I didn't do anything. I don't even know if I ate. But I was so scared because I couldn't believe what was taking place. I couldn't believe that the beer would not go down my throat. I couldn't believe that. There's no other way to explain that. How incredible that gift was. I couldn't stop drinking on my own. And my higher power stopped, completely shut down my throat when I tried to put alcohol into my body. And it would not go. It would not go. I'm telling you, I don't care who believes it, who doesn't. When I'm telling you, when I experienced that, when I experienced my body, my throat physically closing, when I tried on a few different occasions to get the beer to go down, when I tried that and it wouldn't go down, yeah, it was so, I was scared. I didn't know what that was. It's like being touched by God, man. Like for you to pray for something and not know when that day will come, and then just on a simple day, you just casually trying to drink a beer and God says no more. This is what you wanted, I'm going to give you what you want. Not when I wanted it, not how I wanted it. There was no parades or anything happening. There was no fireworks, no rainbow, no nothing. It wasn't a magical story. It's not something they would put on Disney. It was in a kitchen, a lonely ass kitchen, where I woke up to and where I would get ready for the next day. And that's what happened. Like, my life completely changed that day. Yeah. So that day, there were so many things that took place that I guess pushed me into that trajectory. It was the fact that I almost lost my life, right? I was trying to be kind to somebody else that I didn't even know, a stranger. There were things that took place that I didn't notice. I started to sober up a little bit. My mind, I started getting some clarity. I had a little bit of a spiritual awakening because I had compassion for another human being. Started having conversations with people, started listening to what people had to say, started putting the shoe on the other foot. And one of the biggest things that happened prior to this happening was that because of my drug and my alcohol abuse and my like I was just unstable. And because I was unstable, I would try to go see my kids, and my kid's mother wouldn't let me see them. She wouldn't let me be with them. I would try to tell her to drop the kids off in my mom's house so I could spend the weekend with them, and she would come and be there, and it was just chaotic. It just didn't work out. None of it worked, and I wasn't, like, my kid's mother wouldn't let me have my kids at all. So I wound up taking her to court. And I went and I paid the sheriff's department to serve my kid's mother. And they served her, they gave me the paperwork, and then I went to court. And when I went to court, my kid's mother didn't even show up. They gave me another court date to come back. I came back. She didn't show up again. And at that point, I wound up going by where she lived because I wasn't seeing the kids. It was already a little while, a couple of months. And I was nervous because I was like, yo, she didn't show up to court. They're going to wind up taking the kids from her, and they're going to wind up giving me custody, I was thinking. When I went to her apartment where she was living with the kids, the apartment, somebody else was living there. So she wound up moving. She just left and didn't tell me where she was going, what was going on. I think that like not being able to see my kids, that really, it woke something up in me. I was like, I'm going to keep this cycle going. I'm going to keep the cycle going of not being a present father, like what happened to me, not having a dad in my life. Now this is going to be passed on to my children. And yeah, that was in the cards. Another fatherless home. And at this point, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to turn to. I was going through all these things. Could have gotten shot in the situation, not once but twice. And things what I thought couldn't get worse, it got worse. Because now I can't even be in my kid's life. Can't be there. I knew there were things that were happening. My son was a little big. My daughter was just starting to, she was walking and she was doing little girly stuff, and she just started brushing her teeth and stuff, and it was a lot of things that I was missing. And in the next couple of months, I know I missed more, but I said at least I go to court and I do what I gotta do. And I went back to the court the second time, and I have found out that my kid's mother left the state. So when I went back to the courts asked me if I knew where she was at. And I said, well, according to some of the family members and things like that, I found out that she left and she moved away to Pennsylvania. And, she moved away to Pennsylvania, and I don't have no phone number, I didn't have anything to get in contact with her. I didn't know what I was gonna do. And the courts told me that because she's been here, or she's been to, since she left the state, and she's been there longer than 6 months, that there's nothing that they could do about it. Even though I went and I paid the sheriff's department to serve her, to make sure that they got her ID, and they knew it without a doubt that that was her. Even though I did that and I took the proper steps and I went and I, asked for visitation and I asked for a hearing, went through the judicial system, the court system, all these things, I did everything that I was supposed to in the process of living my life the way that I was living and trying to get better. In the process of doing all of that, I did the right thing. I showed up to court, went to court, and now the court system is telling me she went across states. Now you are going to have to go and find her. Get yourself a private investigator and do these things. There's nothing we could do. Because they gave me a court date for, I think it was like 4 months or 5 months away. She left. She didn't show up. Then they gave me a court date for another 4 months. So by the time we came back to court, it was 9 months already passed. I didn't see my kids. 9 months. And they told me, oh yeah, because 9 months passed, after 6 months, there's nothing we could do now. She's a resident of another state. And I was arguing, like, we came here when it was 5 months. And now you telling me that, I was just so furious they wouldn't do anything for me. They wouldn't, it wasn't kidnapping. It was relocating. And that's what it was called. It was called a relocation. Without telling the father anything, where she's taking the kids, where she's going, how could I contact them, what could I do, the numbers were changed, everything was done. It was over. Everything, the ties they were severed completely. And I'm not saying that she didn't have the right to do whatever the hell she wanted. That's fine. But not without giving me any connection, any way to contact my kids. And that's the way it went. And that was a big thing that had happened. Like, in order, when you ask God for certain things, you better be careful what you're asking for, because he's going to give you all the reasons why you need to change. He's going to take things away, and things are going to manifest and things are going to happen. And then you're going to be forced to find out who you really are and what you really want when you ask God to intervene in your life and to lead you and to guide you. Because I was asking those things, but trust me, I didn't understand what that meant. I did not understand what that meant in my life. And I didn't understand that these things were going to happen and start to happen, where I was squeezed into a point where I was forced to make a decision, where I was forced to look at myself, and I had to decide what my life was going to be. And I was at a turning point that it was just, I was at the pinnacle. I could go left or I could go right. One was downhill to get worse, and the other was downhill to start to build myself back up. And I had to make that choice in my life. All these things, all this grief, all this suffering, and I was made to suffer more, to figure out who I was, who I wanted to be, how I wanted to be, and how I wanted to feel when I looked in the mirror. You know? And I know that, like, losing my kids after I lost Booby, That was, oh, that was, it was tough. It was hard to, it was tough to deal with. It was tough to deal with. And all I know is that it came to this day, and these are the things that took place leading up to November 12th, because now Halloween had just passed. I didn't see the kids, and I didn't see them for my birthday, I didn't see them for Halloween, I didn't see them. Thanksgiving was coming up. And that day, when God made that happen, there's no other explanation for that. When God made that happen, and He stopped me physically from the beer physically going down my throat, and I understood what was going on. Yeah, it was the greatest gift that anyone has ever given me. That same day, I looked up for a meeting. I looked up a meeting, and I found out there was one 3 or 4 blocks away. And I went to a meeting that very same night. And when I tell you that from that day, I quit drinking, I quit smoking weed, cigarettes, no more popping pills, no more anything. From that day, when God did that for me and to me, from that day forward, I have never put another substance in my body. Never. It's going on 13 years. 13 years that I haven't touched any of that stuff. And I thank God for it every single day when I wake up. And I went to a meeting, and when I went to the meeting, I saw a lot of people that I used to sell drugs to there. And it weirded me out. They hugged me, they told me they loved me, and that they're so happy that I'm there. It was, I'm telling you, the whole day started, and there was so many things going on, and I knew that, something was out of place, something was happening, something was taking place. I was looking at everything, and everything just looked different. My vision was different, everything was different. And that was the day that God gave me the gift of sobriety. That He took that away. He took away that addiction from me. And I just thank Him all the time, and anytime, and every time that I can. It was the greatest day. It was like a victory. For me, it was a victory. And it will always be a victory for God. For the love that He shared, that He showed me, for sparing me, and for pulling me out of where I was at and telling me, come on, let's go. It's time to start a new walk. It's time to change. And I went to that meeting, and I listened to everything that was told to me. I listened, and I went in every direction that they tried to send me in, and like, hey, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, if you wanna keep doing this, you gotta do work. And I listened to a certain degree. All I know is that I didn't want to, get high anymore. I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to drug. I didn't want to do any of that. But it was the beginning of a different path for me, where my life started to change. And people ask, how, Angel? I prayed. I had nothing else but prayer without faith and prayer without obedience is just prayer. And I have faith that something I couldn't see and something I couldn't touch was going to help me. I believe God was going to help me because I felt His love throughout my life. I felt His protection. I felt there was always something else going on that I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. And I always knew it existed there. And, I didn't want to give up that hope. I always felt like there was something else for me. But I had to work for it. I had to go get it. And this is probably the tipping point of everything, of where my life was going after that. And I woke up the next day. It was finally, I had 1 day clean. And I think 3 days later it was Thanksgiving. People were partying and doing all this stuff. And, Angel, I said, I'm not drinking anymore. And I went to a meeting for Thanksgiving. And I came back out to eat and celebrate with people. And I was sober. And I've never gotten high or drunk ever again since that day. And I am humbled, and I appreciate, and just talking about it, I could feel God's love, and it comforted me. And I'm just so grateful. I'm just so grateful to God for what He did in my life at that point, and what He's done and continues to do in my life. He's worked wonders. And we're gonna end this part, and we'll get prepared for the next phase, and we'll go into everything else, how my life starts to change, and what I start to do, and all these things that begin to happen. And finally, after all the doom and gloom, and after all the heartbreak and heartache and torture and suffering, the dark clouds start to break. They start to crack. Light starts to shine in. And this is the beginning of a good part of my life. Finally, when I gave myself a chance, when I asked for the help, when I seeked it, when I tried to be different, when I started living different, and things started happening in a different way, because I was thinking in a different way, I was behaving in a different way. That's when things started to change. So please continue coming to show up. Like, share, subscribe. If you got somebody that needs to that needs to talk, that needs to reach out to somebody. They don't want to call a hotline or anything like that. They would like to talk to somebody. You can send me an email. Send me an email. Also, people can send me messages. Just send me an email. We don't have to do nothing online if that's not what you want. If it is something that you really don't care and you want me to reach out to you, leave a message. Tell me, hey man, I'm struggling. Can you help me out? Give me a call. You know? And it won't be that far away. I'll look at my messages. I will read them. I will answer them. I will reach out to you. We could talk about it. We could cry about it. We could laugh about it. Either way, we could find something effective that could help you change and help you push in a different direction if that's what you really want in your life. I really don't care who you are, what walk of life you come from. You know, we're all human and we all deserve a chance. And the chance that was given to me, I just want to share that. I want to share that chance with you. I want to share that chance with anybody that needs the help. If I need to go pay somebody a visit, if we need to go have a cup of coffee, if I need to drive across state lines because that's what you need and that's the love that you need, I'm willing to do that if it'll make a change in your life. Because that's what God did for me. He did the impossible and he made it happen. So for me to drive across states, for me to go make my way to you, for me to go answer a message or call you or text you or whatever it is that I need to do, I'm going to do it because it was done for me. Spiritually, it was done for me. And I could give that to somebody else. And that's what I'm doing here. That's what I feel is my purpose in life, is to love people until they can love themselves. And the more love I give, the more love I feel. And it's just a beautiful continuation of what God has done for me. And through me, I'll continue to share love through God. God sheds his light and his love on me, and I pass it on because that's what I need to do. That's what's required of me. I'm a servant, and I want to share that love. So I have an email. It's ANG, the number 3, LRIV, 3RA, 78 @gmail. And you can send me an email if you want to remain anonymous and you really don't want me to, you don't want me to share your story. You don't want to share your story. You're just reluctant to do that. And you don't want to send a message on here and leave a comment and say, hey, contact me. I'm going through this stuff. Whatever it is that you want to do it. But just don't let time continue to pass, because we've already allowed too much time to pass. I'm telling you, man, I got my therapist, Kate Bennett. She's the best. I love her. You know, we built a beautiful relationship, and you know, she's a cornerstone. So I've done a little bit of everything. I go to church, I go to meetings, I go to therapy sessions, I go to the gym, I do all of that. So I wouldn't lead you in a way that I'm not willing to walk myself. Either way, we're going to move on. And in the next episode, you start to see the changes that are going to happen in my life and have happened in my life. And the things that I had to go through in order to change. Because just stopping the drinking and drugging, yeah, that's just the beginning. So continuing on, I hope that you guys can continue following my story and continuing to share, continuing to talk to certain people that need it. Share the video, like the video, view the video, and let's just show each other love. Let's show each other compassion. And let's try to be there for each other, because that's the most important thing in life. God bless you guys. Take care. I'll see you on the next one.